This podcast is part of the Listen Frederick Podcast Network. To learn more, visit listenfrederick.com.
What's up, everybody? It's episode 79 of Beers in the Lot. In this episode, we started off talking about the Olympics, and please keep in mind that this episode was recorded before the events of the men's USA versus Slovakia game. Then we got into talking about the new coach of the Montreal Canadiens, Martin St. Louis. And then we just couldn't help ourselves. We started reminiscing about the 2004 Lightning and that team that won the cup. So here we go.
Shall we crack them?
Yeah, let's. Shit.
Johnny, that doesn't look like a beer.
Does not.
You sound so angry about it.
I am. You guys go ahead and tell me what you're drinking, and then I'll tell you what I'm drinking, followed by a rant.
So what you're saying is you're going to do some written shit and you get to go last.
Sure.
Little Eminem
Sure.
reference there in the spirit of the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Aaron, what are you drinking?
I have from Great Lakes Brewing Company an Elliott Ness Amber Lager. It's pretty
Okay. Cool.
good. Good. Yeah. No complaints.
Is that from the beer subscription pack?
No, this is from the store. I
Oh, wow.
just picked these up.
A store.
I've got beer like the
Look at
way
you.
normal people do it.
Look at you.
The way normal people do. Not from the stagecoach. You didn't rob it or anything?
Those normies.
Yeah.
The normies. What do you have, Daniel?
So I have a very fitting beer tonight from Aleworks Brewing Company. Bitter Valentine Double India Pale Ale.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very fitting.
Yes. And we're playing a man down tonight. So Johnny, what do you have there? And then you can go into your rant.
No. So I have Maker's Mark this evening. And the reason why is, so last couple of weeks, I've been going to various liquor stores. When I get the opportunity to get 3 or 4 craft beers at a time and singles, because that way there's a little variety, and I like trying stuff. Well, about December-ish, I noticed that a lot of the beers in my vicinity were out of date, which I have an issue. When there's date on it, there's a reason it's there, so I won't drink it even if it's the day after. Yeah, you should start looking at the dates on your brouhahas. I do. So anyway,
Mine's pretty fresh.
I went to 2 places last week and didn't see anything that was in date that I wanted to try. So I was like, all right, I'm bopping around the area, the next couple of days, I'll stop. I stopped at a chain that is well known in this area. Some would say it's a total location for a lot of your craft needs, wine, beer, other things, etc. I don't remember the name of it. But anyway, every fucking beer I wanted to try expired like right around Thanksgiving or right before Christmas. Let's just say if it expired on a Friday and I grab that can on a Monday, you're not going to notice much. But some of the beers, I swear, if I get it a month after date or 2, I know it's just off. I can taste it the second I sip it.
Once it hits your lips.
Once it hits your
It's
lips,
not so good.
Aaron, you're
It's
just killing
not
it.
so
tonight.
good.
You're just killing it.
Aaron's just knocking it down. But
Just setting him up,
I'm
knocking him down.
I'm telling you, it was almost to the point, because you guys know how I am. I almost wanted to act like a Karen in the store and go like, excuse me, this is like, what are you guys doing here? Like, people are, and the worst thing is 3 or 4 people when I was in the aisle, like looking, putting it back, looking, put it back, and standing there like fuming almost like, some bitch, like, what am I gonna do? 4 people were like going through, putting it in a little 6-pack carriers, and I almost wanted to stop them and go like, hey bud, you know that like expired like in freaking last year, like in November? Not like, that's the thing. If it was like January 2nd and it expired, 12/31/21, I probably won't throw up much of a stink, but like now it's to the point I'm like, this is crazy. This is madness.
Well, problem with those singles sometimes is it's a lot of the cases that are ripped or something, or
Correct.
yeah.
And sometimes they're not high turning beers, which is one reason why they end up in the singles, or like it's a seasonal thing because they want everybody to try it. But there were some things there. I mean, I'll say this: I saw a bunch of Smirnoff Ices in the singles. It looks like those turned pretty quick. I was almost half tempted. I was like, I'm gonna get a pack of ice and just ice myself. Like it was like so. I mean, you know how I am, so you can imagine the look on my face in this aisle, just like steaming.
Were you a hot little potato?
A hot little potato. And then I say that all the time. But I'm sure there was someone in the parking lot that like looked at me from afar, like that guy is having a bad day, because I was like doing the mumble swears like I always do, and like walking away like all disgruntled, like sped out of the parking lot. Oh. So then I was like, I'm just gonna have bourbon. I'm done with this crap. So yeah, that's what I did. So yeah, but
having some bourbon. Gotcha.
Yeah. So whatever.
We know exactly why now.
But we were talking. I forget who it was. Somehow this came up, like about how part of it is pandemic because a lot of breweries can't keep up with demand, but also some breweries, I heard through the grapevine, they stopped printing the dates intentionally. I believe that's breaking a law or two, but I could be wrong. Not my beer.
No
Yeah.
good.
No good. But yeah.
Speaking of breaking things, a streak was broken tonight. The only remaining perfect Iron Man streak in Beers in the Lot amongst Beers in the Lot podcasters breaks tonight.
Our Phil Kessel. That's right. Our Phil Kessel.
Our Phil Kessel.
That's right.
Yeah. Riggs is out tonight, but we're gonna hold it down.
Yeah. We'll be okay. I mean, we'll miss him, but
fine.
It'll be okay.
Of course.
We just need to get John talking about some salary cap stuff. We'll be golden.
Yeah. Yep.
No, we don't need that. We don't need that crap. But all right. Has it been a busy hockey week? Anything stand out to you two?
It's been a little bit busy.
There's been some Olympics.
The Olympics. Yeah.
Men's USA beat Canada.
That's right.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of that game, Daniel?
Yeah.
All right. I have a question. What did anything strike you about the way that Canadian team played compared to the American team?
Slow.
I would totally agree. Yeah. Did you notice anything else?
Nothing really stuck out to me, no.
Just that they were that slow.
They were just so much slower than the USA, yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I noticed, and it kind of made me chuckle. So Claude Julien, old school, like kind of not a dinosaur by coaching years, but retread. He's been around the game for a billion years. David Quinn, NCAA coach, had a very short stint with the Rangers. If you notice, all the times Canada dumped the puck, they just dumped it with the hopes to get it. Team USA, after the first couple of minutes in that first goal, you notice how like they would put a puck into space and either create a 50-50 battle or go, all right, we know we're going to win this. So they were doing like the punt and hunt, kind of like Toronto does it. Vegas does a little bit of it. Pittsburgh does the punt and hunt. Tampa does the punt and hunt. Yeah.
Isn't that just dump and chase? Another way to say dump and chase?
No, because I would say like the punt and hunt, it's more you're putting it into a space where you know your player is going to win that battle, or it's kind of like, let's say you're playing defense, Danny's streaking down the side. I'm going to throw it in the boards knowing Danny's going to get there first. You have to chase him, but I can't make a direct pass.
I hate to be like stating the obvious, but why on earth wouldn't you play dump and chase like that? What's the difference?
If you notice Canada, they just go to like center and throw it in around the boards, hoping the forecheckers are going to get it.
All right.
And if you notice like a lot of late 90s some early 2000 hockey. That's what they do. They call it dump and chase because you would literally just dump it in the corner and you would chase it. There was no expectations that you would get it. It was just over, over 10 times we'll get it 3 times versus kind of, I would say, the newer style, but it's not even a punt and hunt because they don't dump it into the boards. It's kind of like into the sideboards or this part of the ice. That's why I call it punt and hunt. Almost like a rugby type play, like a rugby type play. We'll call it that. That way we can kind of differentiate a little bit. Like Team USA was doing more of that. And very early when Team Canada, because they're older and slower, were like, oh, we're bigger and stronger. We're going to try and bump these guys off the puck. That's fine. That worked. But they still got tons of opportunity, skated the daylights out of that team. And also, I think after the first 8 minutes, they kind of controlled play. I wasn't super worried. So
you're saying we got a good shot going this time around, getting gold.
Absolutely.
I'm hoping.
Well, it certainly seems good, like a good sign that, the two real powerhouses of the men's tournament faced off early. And yeah, I mean, the U.S. came out ahead in their whole group. I mean, who else? We beat Germany and
China.
And China, yeah. So came out ahead in Group A, and that puts us ahead going into the bracket, I think, right?
Yeah, so we get a bye through the quarters, which is nice. And even too, some of the matchups because this will air Wednesday, so a lot of them happen on Tuesday as we record. But a lot of the matchups, nothing certain, especially this Olympics where there's no NHL players. We've seen some really wacky stuff, especially with Latvia. I mean, Latvia has been in a lot of games, which is great. They didn't have NHL superstar Teddy Bluger out there. But,
nope.
The Swedish and Finnish team, they look very, I would say, ordinary, not in a bad way. Just kind of you miss some of their high talent guys. And then Russia, I mean, that country needs to be banned from the next couple of Olympics anyway, but whatever. We won't get into that.
How do you think it was for Eric Stahl playing all these young kids and getting completely demolished? Do you think that's us playing kids and pickup and God, fuck these kids?
No, I think we would have a better chance against kids. He looks like he's struggling a bit. But in his defense though, he has not played an NHL game. So the kids from Team USA have been playing. He's been essentially off. So he looked better in the USA game versus the earlier game when they played. Who'd they play first out of the gate? When they played Germany, I was kind of I watched a little bit. I was like, man, he just doesn't look all right. He looked better, but I think he's 37 now. I mean, so he's not going to be blazing down and up and down the ice like he used to, when he was young in Carolina. Those days are gone.
Yeah.
I mean, and even in Minnesota, when he did have a few good seasons there near the end before, he picked his spots. He was almost like a Joe Thornton type where he was never fast. He just was smart enough about reading the play. And then when he went to Montreal for the cup run last year, he was very invisible, unfortunately. I think a lot caught up to him.
Have you noticed that with a lot of older players, even in beer leagues, that a lot of times they rely on their smarts and the easy play, right? As opposed to I'm not going to burn this person, but I will pass around you 5 or 6 times and make you look kind of silly that way.
Yeah, absolutely. You do the give and go or the give and no.
Yeah.
And then you do a few of those and you move around certain players. Yeah. But even too, you find out pretty quick who has an idea what should be going on or shouldn't be going on. But I consider myself most days pretty smart in how I play and what I do, and I pick my spots. But in a situation where a lot of people don't know what the hell to do, I feel so lost. I feel like I'm in the Amazon jungle. I don't even know where to go. It's just weird because you try to read certain plays and do certain things, especially if you're good at reading off certain players, and then all of a sudden they're not in the right spot, or a puck's not coming to you, or a certain spot where is a let's call it prime spot to get a breakout pass or get a pass or cut through the ice. And there's like people there for no reason. You're like, what is going on? This doesn't make sense. Like you're like, and then you look at kind of like a prime A, let's call it right up the gut, right by the center ice logo. And it's like this wide open field. And you're like, what the hell? And you're just like not programmed to do it. You know, Danny, I'm sure you know too. Like,
Yeah.
And it's like it throws you completely off.
Yeah, I mean, I played with you guys for so long, and I know when we play together, we know what we're gonna be. Like we've played with each other so much that I mean, how many times are we do that one play, Aaron, where you get the puck on the boards and you just bank it off the boards in the air and just land it on my stick?
Yeah, it's at least happened. You know, it doesn't happen that often. It's a pretty specific situation, but it's one of those things that we've done it before. So Daniel sees it. Daniel's like in center ice and sees me in my own zone with, like I said, very specific situation. And he just knows that, okay, I need to get over to the side of the boards because puck's going to just drop out of the sky and it'll be on my blade and I can go shoot and score. And we've done it a few times where just clear it off the glass and it drops on Daniel's blade and he shoots and scores. I mean,
Matthew Stafford,
game, right?
Cooper Cup. But, well, I know, especially too, like you guys know, when I come behind the net, if I'm on my backhand, I'm going to throw it to the far side of the net, maybe about 4 or 5 feet away from the net. And I play with people that, like, especially either don't know that I do that or, like, especially if they're newer hockey players, because we do here and there. And especially when I come behind the net and they come towards me, it totally throws me off. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what the hell are you doing?
You're not supposed to be here.
Yeah, what are you doing? It gets so aggravating.
Get over there.
Yeah. And the worst thing too is like I sometimes in that situation, like I don't like call people out like you're an idiot, what are you doing? But I also like do like a mental check when I'm skating back up the ice or something. Like, did I do something wrong there? Like, is that okay. Like
Riggs would yell at him.
Yeah, but Riggs could score a perfect breakaway goal and he'd yell at somebody for a pass. I mean, so it's fine.
He would say that he is holding people accountable to try to make them better players. Holding people to higher standards.
He's a coach. He's a coach.
He's a coach,
so,
yeah.
He's a coach.
He's always trying to make people into better players.
That's right.
Yep.
He's in charge of the development of this league. So
even if you don't want
it. That's right. Even if you don't want it.
Look, it worked with his own team this season. They won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
That's right. It's a winning streak.
They're streaking.
They are streaking.
I want to go back to the Olympics though, because this will air on Wednesday, like you said, John. But
yes,
also on Wednesday is the women's gold game. So USA and Canada at 11:10 Eastern on Wednesday.
Jesus.
So we can say go USA women today on Monday and on Wednesday when it airs. So
yeah,
absolutely. I was really happy to see Hillary Knight had an awesome game today in the semis against the Finns. The Finns actually scared me because they have the best goaltender in the tournament on paper, and she actually is very talented. So I was kind of like, I don't want to say trap game because I definitely don't like saying that, especially, there's a lot of heat on women's hockey, is it, should it be in because not competitive, blah, blah, blah. At first, it most certainly deserves to be in the Olympics. I don't care what anyone says. And two, like we kind of said last week, if you're a United States or Canadian fan or player, it's not your problem that other nations are either behind or not putting the resources that our two hockey-loving countries are. Sweden, Finland, the Swiss had a great run. They made it to the quarters, so they're going to play the Finns for a bronze. Like, that's great. And same with the Finns. Swedes had a so-so tournament. China, Japan, they had a great tournament too. So I think, there's a lot of great things that they can hold their hat on. And especially China, we touched on it, so we don't need to go back. But I wouldn't be shocked if we see a whole generation of men and women's hockey players start to, play at the youth levels, which is awesome. And hopefully in a few, couple of generations, maybe they advance to the quarters. Maybe they get to a semi. Hell,
Right.
maybe even a gold. In the women's, I would still hope Canada doesn't. And then that way USA can still play for gold. But like, whatever. Same with men's. Like, I think I'm fine with that.
Oh no, you mentioned the Finland game too. Like, I think, like you said, it's kind of a big deal because yeah, they had the best goaltender in the tournament, and USA was kind of struggling offensively. Like they were putting up loads of shots, but they just weren't scoring. And in particular, Riggs even said the power play was a problem.
Yeah,
in the game versus Canada, and USA got a power play goal against the Finns, and they scored 4 goals on 42 shots. Like they got pretty close to 10%, which is really what you're after. So that's good.
That's been kind of the MO for the entire tournament, though. They outshoot their opponents, and everyone, obviously minus Canada, they've had an issue, but I think their coach touched on it too. He kind of said, we're in the tournament and we play the game to score goals, not accumulate shots. But this game, there was a conscious effort to shoot from better quality areas. In some of the games, especially when they played that opening game, and they kind of ramshot, they kind of I wouldn't say we're cherry picking some of the shots, but they were a little bit, and some of those bad angles, obviously because of the skill they had, they're putting it in. So today, little closer to the net, a little more confusion in front of the net and chaos and whatnot. So that's good. Canada, they did what we kind of thought they would do. Unfortunately, Sarah Nurse had like 4 or 5 assists, something like that today too. So like she's lighting it up. Poulin's lighting it up. Jenner's doing well. I mean, Canada's doing fine.
Yep. It's going to be a good game.
We're going to give them ladies a test
Yeah.
Wednesday. Yep. So
it's going to be a good game on Wednesday. The winning team will be deserving.
Oh, absolutely. Aaron, your boy, your most feared nemesis from like NHL 2007, by the way, is now a coach. The man who could decimate Zdeno Chara.
Yes. I don't know how it happened. I don't know how we ended up with this, but somehow John and I were playing a game in NHL 07 or whatever. Yeah,
it was like 06, 07, 08, somewhere around there.
And somehow I had Chara on my team,
You're
and
playing
he
with
had
Ottawa.
Marty.
I was playing with Tampa.
He was playing with Tampa. So Marty St. Louis is trying to forecheck Zdeno Chara with the puck in his own zone, and somehow just lays this body-destroying hit on Chara. Marty St. Louis now. And just lays out the biggest man in the league.
I was gonna say it's the legs.
It's the legs, though. Yeah, it was definitely legs. He had that low center of gravity, and all it took, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marty St. Louis behind the bench, though. Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
I like that.
Mhm.
He's not a retread. It's a fresh voice. He's coached top end players, and I know this sounds bad. And yes, they are NHL players, but like if you looked at Montreal's effort, the team looks like they hate going to the rink. They hate being there. Marty St. Louis, just because he's an ex-player, he kind of knows what the heat is like, in dealing with some of that bullshit. Now, obviously, you didn't deal with it in Montreal, but like I think Marty can kind of take some of that off of those guys. And and two, like he's a player, so I would imagine a lot of his practices are going to be a little more upbeat, high tempo player type practices, stuff you want to do. I don't know what their practice schedule's like, but I imagine he's going to keep it a little more light than Deschamps did. I heard, you read some stuff and you see some stuff after a guy gets fired, and I don't want to lump on him because it wasn't just coaching. They had tons of injury issues, blah, blah, blah. List goes on. The rumor was a lot of the stuff they were running was junior type system, which is where Deschamps came from. He was a junior coach, and he was a world junior head coach for Team Canada. And then he ended up as an assistant. And then when Julian got canned last year, he ended up coaching, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I heard it was a lot of junior type systems, he was kind of hard ass. And well, we kind of see what happens with hard ass coaches, like especially now with players having way more control of not really what they run in terms of systems and stuff, but like, oh, well, all right, well, come free agency, I'm not coming here. Or, oh, well, I'm a free agent at the end of the year, so whatever. Go ahead. So, league's better when Montreal's competitive and having fun at least. So,
Yeah.
we need this.
It's just good to see faces that you recognize, I think. I don't know. Seeing Marty St. Louis back involved with the league it's great. It just feels right. It's like Marty St. Louis should be involved in this game more. And it's probably one of many that are still going to come. Like some of these guys that we grew up watching are probably going to end up behind the bench, and we're going to be like, "Oh, I remember when this guy played." And I think it's kind of interesting as we get older. It's kind of like watching the Super Bowl halftime show and thinking, "Man, it's great that they didn't go with one of those old artists, you know." And then you realize, like, oh, it's because we're
Shit.
getting old.
He is old.
Oh, we're
He is
old.
We're old, so it's kind of weird making this transition into seeing like players that were superstars when I was a kid. Now they're coaches, and I'm not a kid.
If you kind of look around the league, so like Paul Correa and Niedermeyer were helping out in the Pat Verbeek GM hire. So that's 3 players growing up. We were there.
Right.
Marty's there. There's rumors like crazy that Hobby Boulin's going to go be the goaltending coach at Montreal, and Vinny LeCavalier is going to join the front office, which I know that would be so interesting because Vinny LeCavalier, from the second he was drafted by Tampa, there was always a rumor in the back pocket. And this is because I'm a crazy rumor person and I know all the nonsense because I'm a dork, but like in the early days of like internet hockey trade rumors, every trade deadline, it was Vinny LeCavalier to Montreal every single year. The year they won the freaking cup, it was like, Vinny, I hear, is going to Montreal. Like, why? Why the fuck would he go to Montreal every year? But especially like,
I want to take a second here, real quick, just to point out that year that Tampa Bay won the cup. I know a guy who predicted that Tampa would win the cup in preseason. He called it out. He's like, you know what? I think Tampa's going to win this year. I think they're going to win the cup. That man was Daniel, right here. Our own Daniel.
Hold your applause. Hold your applause, please.
He called it. He just made a bold prediction about Stanley Cup winner in preseason, and lo and behold, there they go, lifting the cup. It was amazing.
If only I put money on that.
I know, right?
You should have.
You would have made bank.
Yeah, because I don't even think they
came out of nowhere. No,
they weren't
really in the conversation. Yeah. I mean, they were a good team, but they weren't like, oh, they're the favorite. They're definitely going to win, or they're going to have a good shot at winning. Like, they had LeCavalier and Marty St. Louis, and Hobby was the goaltender, right?
Yes, Hobby Boulin.
Right? Yeah.
And if I remember all that right, the way they did it, they beat Philly in a 7-game series. I know for a fact the Calgary-Tampa was a 7-game series, but Marty St. Louis scored a Game 6 overtime goal in Calgary to bring it back to Tampa. And then Fedotenko got he got 2, I think. He got 2 in Game 7. 2 in Game 7.
Yeah, that's right.
I could name a ton of people on both of those teams.
I
remember that vividly.
With 2 in games. Yeah, that's right. Against the Flames, right? That's who they played?
Yep. Kiprusoff was goalie.
Yep.
There was a big fight that series. Do you remember it? Do you remember who fought?
Oh.
It was like an all-time NHL fight. It was Iggy and who'd he fight? Do you remember who Iggy fought?
Was it Richards?
No.
I don't know who it was. It was Vinny. Oh.
They fought.
Man.
Yeah, man.
That's good stuff. Bad Richards. I remember that guy.
Bad Richards. Yeah. And then if you remember Brad Richards, he ended up, if I remember the timeline correctly, he won the Conn Smythe for MVP. I think a few years later, he ended up in Dallas, and then he got the massive contract, to New York, and then they bought him out, and he ended up in Detroit for a season. It was the end of Brad Richards' career. But I remember like he had a ton of points in the playoffs, had a really good regular season, and he never matched it after that Stanley Cup year. Like a lot of people, I mean, they have a sick playoff. I mean, Fernando Persani comes to mind for the Oilers.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, do you remember?
Persani.
See?
Yeah.
And he came out of freaking nowhere. And he got a big deal from Chicago. Yeah. Dork. Everyone's like, who the hell are you talking about?
Man, there was a lot of big names on that team. No, I'm looking at the roster and thinking, oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Dude, so if you go Flames, they had Langkow.
Damon Langkow.
Kipper was the goalie. Commodore, I think, was on that team.
Yep, Mike Commodore. Christoph Oliwa was on the team. Niemanen.
Yeah, jeez.
Hello, Niemanen.
Yeah, Ville Niemanen?
Ville Niemanen,
Ville.
yeah.
Wow.
Chuck Kovasu. Stefan Yell was on that team.
Stefan Yell.
Robin Regier. Oh, man, yeah.
They had a very solid, good team. Daryl Sutter was the coach. Very, very good team. Tampa was good too. They had Modine. They had Richards, Langkow, or not Langkow. Richards, LeCavalier, St. Louis, Ruslan Fedotenko, Andrew Chuck.
Yep. Oh my god.
Sankov.
Yeah.
Tim the Tool Man, Taylor.
Yeah. Taylor, man. Do you remember that was at the same time? Because like 2 seasons later, Andrew Chuck retired. He had like a brutal year after the lockout because Tampa Bay won. They did the World Cup of Hockey. Canada beat Finland, I think, in the final. And then like the next day, they're like, oh, and tomorrow starts the NHL lockout. Like that was the end of the ESPN broadcast. Right. And then they had like the 1.5 year layoff because of the lockout. Andrew Chuck came back, had a horrible one. And Danny said the reason why Andrew Chuck was horrible was because he wasn't practicing with Vinny LeCavalier and the smart hockey ball. Remember that?
Smart hockey ball, yeah.
Remember that?
Because he was doing those ads for the smart hockey ball all the time.
And they came out with the CDs with all the drills you could do.
Oh my god.
Danny's exact words, like when because I was like, man, Andrew Chuck just fell off a cliff. Oh, I mean, you can imagine what a nerd I was with stats back in the day still. And I was like, oh my God, he fell off a cliff. And Danny's just like, well, he's not working with Vinny and the smart hockey ball. Of course he fell off a cliff. Like, and for those, now they have like the green biscuit. But the smart hockey ball was the original off ice trainer. And that was a ball that you could use on any surface. It's actually still I'm sure they still have them around. I just don't see them. No. But the whole idea is it mimicked the contact point of a puck on your stick, and it had the same weight. So that's a smart hockey ball. For all the kids that don't know,
we used to test them out when we were working.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
We test them
we
out.
all worked at the pro shop, and we'd test them out just to be sure that they were, good.
Golf ball still works really well too. That's for overspeed training.
Good times. Yep, taking it back to 2004, 2003, 2004.
Aaron just wears out the green biscuits.
Yeah, I just wear them out. It doesn't make me any better though.
Aaron, the only 3 people in the world I have known to wear down a green biscuit, it's Swaggy P from Elevate 802, Pavel Barber, and Aaron Michaels. This is the only 3 people I've ever seen wear down a green biscuit.
I wore 2 of them down. I actually had to buy you new ones because I wore 2 of them out. I still don't have a hand, so.
Hey guys, did you guys see the big news today about Jack Eichel?
No.
He's practicing cellies for...
No, he's not. He's playing on Wednesday. Mark Stone, as of today, went on LTIR. He apparently has a severe back injury.
Ooh.
That sucks.
Like, literally has a back injury, like a real back injury, not just from carrying the team.
Not like Daniel's back injuries, a legit back injury.
Or not like Aaron when he just goes for empty net, so he jumps on his back.
Yeah, I know.
Well, another Beers in a Lot episode. Another joke about Aaron and empty net goals. Weird. And another outro and another thank you to our listeners. Not weird at all because you guys are great. I do also want to say thank you to the folks who joined Discord in the past week, because we've had a few. You know who you are. I see you. I appreciate you. beersinalot.com/Discord to be the next one. Oh, and more appreciation to those of you who've been evangelizing and telling folks to listen to our show. We've seen some more listens lately. That's great. Thank you so much. Well, that's it for 79. We'll see you next week on 80. Have a good one.